Welcome to the Mike Knox-Comedy Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Knox. Wanted to give a shout out to Brain Ablaze Podcast, one of my good friends and loyal listeners. And check out that podcast if you've got any questions about epilepsy or epilepsy awareness. There are over 3 million people in the United States with epilepsy, 65 million worldwide. It is one of the least funded brain disorders, I would say, in our country. Starting off today, I saw that, I didn't see, but I lived through another July 4th. And this July 4th was a little different in my area. What I did is I rented a hotel room because it's always a pain to get through the parking after the fireworks. They run the fireworks at the mall. And, there's a lot of mosquitoes out there. And so I got a hotel room, and it all looked good until the fireworks went off. And then I realized I was facing the wrong way, and there was a giant tree in the way, so I had to go downstairs. So renting the hotel room did not work out as I planned. And then when I got home, the festivities were still going on, and I really do think, or I plan for a whole week of fireworks to be going off. Pre-partying, I get it, and afterwards. And then you get all the people on the Nextdoor app that are complaining about their dogs and how their dogs are horrified of the 4th of July. And I get that also. And the party kept going at my neighborhood. And then, so I got home I got home around 10 probably. And it was more fireworks that I had ever known to mankind were going off in my neighborhood. So then the power went out, and the power hasn't gone out in quite a long time in my neighborhood. And I was just thinking, that's probably a way for the city to, rather than sending the police, it's probably a way that the city deals with the illegal fireworks, because they were going crazy everywhere. It was like a war zone. And so they shut off the power, and the power was off for about 2.5 hours. And it really did quail the amount of fireworks, and I realize this, we're so dependent on electricity, and I always know that, it's in the back of my head, but I'm checking my phone, and the Wi-Fi is not working, the home and the entire everywhere around me is completely dark, there's no lights anywhere, so I'm using flashlights and candles, but you really couldn't see the firework that was in front of you. You got your beer in your hand, you're trying to light the firework, it was so dark you couldn't even see anything. So it was really like we're back in, old Victorian England. And so it really did slow the progress of the fireworks. I think it would have been a lot worse. I didn't like the fact that the power was out for 2.5 hours because it kind of got a little creepy because now that all of that power is out, then there's no real kind of the sound from TV or streaming. You got your radio is blaring, whatever it is, you got your music on, you're distracted by everything. The humming of the light, the washing machine, whatever, the microwave, whatever it is, all that's gone and it's silent. I could literally hear people. I'm trying to sleep, and I could hear people talking, walking. They're just walking their dog, but I could hear them talking from the street, which I could never hear before. So it was a little weird. It was a little spooky to have that much silence because everything else, all the electricity that runs everything, filters out everything. That I could never hear before, and it was so loud that it felt like there were people that were talking outside my window. Maybe it was just me sleeping, I don't know, but it was to me it was a little weird. And I do understand that comfort of the city noise that's can be soothing for you, because when it's just absolutely silence, it's just, and you can't see anything, it's just really, to me, it was a very weird experience. And again, I think it was the city deciding we're going to shut off everybody's power. And I know they're not allowed to do that, but I'm sure that's what somebody up there was thinking, because there's always somebody trying to come up with some new plan how to police us all. Because every year, those fireworks that aren't legal around here somehow seem to find their way to us. That's why you can never really ban anything. It's always going to show up. But in the news, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub in New York just passed a law that they have to do $17 minimum wage, and they are all trying to figure out how to get around that for food delivery workers. Because, if you think about it, LA doesn't really matter, but for places like New York, where you don't want to. A lot of people don't have a car. You don't want to be, just going outside is a chore. So to get somebody to deliver, that's a huge industry for Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, whatever people are ordering all the time to get it delivered to themselves. And I myself have had horrible experiences. So I limit myself to just the guy delivering a pizza. But I've had, times it'll show up cold, or the order I actually just went and picked up my food from a place, and I got home. They told me what was in the bag, but half of it wasn't in the bag. So I had paid for and my family, and then my food wasn't in there. And I just don't even get mad anymore, because we're at a point in our society where I'm just assuming everything's going to be not right. So those are the things that I don't get mad at. But I definitely don't want anybody delivering my food. I don't know. I saw another video too where a guy he had eaten like a couple slices of the pizza and then did a little mathematical trick where he made the pizza smaller. I don't want people's hands all over my food. I don't know. Call me crazy. Nearly half of the tap water in the United States is laced with hormone warping forever chemicals that are linked to cancer, infertility, and birth defects. Now, one of those on the map is Los Angeles, where I live, and I tested my water when I moved in here, and believe it or not, I'm not a scientist, of course, but the toilet water was cleaner than the tap water. But I guess that there's a certain amount of chemicals that they can have. I think it's like the scale on my little water meter was like, if it's over 0.500, then you should be concerned. And it was the toilet water and the tap water was under. I try not to use the tap water, but who knows what they're, flooding into your water there to, because the water for LA, you can see the aqueduct and it's open. So obviously you're going to have to put some chemicals in there to get the bugs out of it and everything. So I always just try to stay away from the tap water. And there is my proof right there in the news that forever chemicals, I love the term forever chemicals also. They're not really telling you exactly what it is that they're putting in there. It's just forever going to be in your body, and there's no way you can get it out without detoxing from a smoothie. A sort of locally news, but Sacramento, I found this interesting. A tennis player who was... I guess he's a rising tennis player, but he's made over $1 million playing tennis. He has been injured, so he's on the injured list, but he signed off on he hadn't been taking his drug tests for the last year. He missed he had been accused of missing 3 performance-enhancing drug tests over the last 12 months, but he denies that he is doping. So this is such a legalese speak, too. It's that he's saying, well, I've never tested positive for any sort of performance-enhancing drugs, and then the tennis people are like, but you've never even taken the test, and he's like, but I've never tested positive, and that's what I like about this guy. So he's going to continue to play. He's going to bounce right back. He's going to go places, I think, with that. He could definitely be an attorney with that sort of thinking, which I think is what's gotten him this far in the tennis world. But it's got to be, I tell anybody that if you could play a sport and you can go places in sports, now is the time to do it, because, you could get an agent for having a million views on TikTok. If you got enough followers on there about how to make art out of dryer lint, an agent is going to come and find you. So if you've got a skill to play tennis, somebody is going to come and find you, and so it's not going to be that big of a deal. I was also going to say there's always an injury list after fireworks, and in the Bay Area of California, the fireworks were suspected of starting 12 fires. 2 people suffered serious hand injuries from explosions. Another reason, I used to love fireworks, and I would beg my dad to take me to a fireworks stand. They used to be all over LA, and I don't really see them all that much. Some incorporated areas I have them, but it was like Safe and Sane. I wanted the huge box. It was like $120. I wanted every single fireworks that possibly. And now that I am a little wiser, I realize I'd like to keep my fingers, and my toes for that matter, and I do not drink as much as I used to. And I think alcohol and fireworks go hand in hand. And I just try to, a healthy lifestyle, I guess is what you could call it. But The news also reported that Africa is splitting into two because of the growing rift. And don't be alarmed. They're telling you to be alarmed, but it is widening by 1 inch every year. So I've maybe got 50 years left in my life. So 50 inches, they could just build a bridge. I think that we're going to be okay. I don't think it's a huge alarm necessarily, right? I think we've got other things to worry about, but I did want to bring that up. Also, what I love about the news is it's always this sensationalism, and the news loves to follow around, especially actors when they act strangely. And so they had an article about Heather Locklear that she was, out in front of a place and they're like, she's in flip-flops and she's smiling and she's making weird gestures. And I'm just thinking, it's Los Angeles. It's like 100 degrees out. I would be making faces also, and I would be in flip-flops. And I know she's been in rehab a bunch of times. But for this one particular thing, I'm on Team Heather's side here to leave her alone. If she is having some sort of problems, it is very sad. I am rooting for her. But a lot of times the news just needs to leave people alone, I think. Also, not in leaving people alone, Allison Mack was released from state prison yesterday. The Smallville actress served her time in the Nexium scandal, where she was basically trafficking young girls for the crazy cult leader guy. And I'm sure because it's Hollywood, she'll snap right back and get herself another leading role in Smallville 2 or something. Who knows? But it always ceases to amaze me. Also, the New York mayor, Bill de Blasio, he left his wife the other day, got in an Uber and left, and then posted on Tinder that he's now a single man. So all you ladies out there who want a very tall man that looks like a scarecrow, he is free and available, and he's got a lot of money, basically. He pilfered New York for quite some time. Speaking of pilfering, LA County restaurants, I was going to do a review on this in the comments, but I get exhausted. I love reading the comments, but not adding to the comments. But an LA restaurant decided they were going to add a 4% charge to cover health insurance for its staff, on top of tips and a water donation, which is interesting. I think this restaurant is in Silver Lake area, but this is like how ill-informed people are, especially living in California. All of the comments were about blah, 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 blah. But in California, we have covered California. We have health care for anybody that wants it. It's all subsidized. And still people think in California, living in Los Angeles, they don't have an option for health care. And I don't really blame them, because if you go on the website, it's so confusing, you would never know. And so for this restaurant to charge 4%, and then everybody thinking that it's a great idea because you can get, I'm paying for this health care for these workers, the workers already have it. It's already there. It's like 4% on 4%. And I just love how to solve everything is just to add more taxes to my bill. And I really just feel like staying home and not going out to pay that extra 4%. Even though in our minds, 4% doesn't sound like anything. That's how they get away with the 10% sales tax in LA County, which is also completely outrageous. Wisconsin, at a Wisconsin festival that was stuck upside down for 3 hours. I actually saw this picture. It looked like at the Loop. They're just stuck right there, which is another reason that I don't want to go on roller coasters ever. They make me absolutely sick. I didn't go on my first roller coaster. This is a very true fact. I don't think I was 19 until I went on my first roller coaster. It was the Revolution at Magic Mountain. It wasn't that bad. I ended up going on Colossus after that. I know that they're much worse, but I really feel as you get older, your equilibrium can't take stuff like that, and I would just be vomiting. But I do not like roller coasters. I don't want to be upside down, but that is just pure torture to me. You're stuck upside down. You would think you've made this roller coaster that there'll be an easier way to get people down. Like, I don't know, there's like a latch that you click and you can pull a rope that'll get the car down. But no, you're trapped upside down for 3 hours while they figure out how to get you down. That would be so frightening to me. I was watching some movie history. I thought this was interesting. This has been going around that the kid who played Forrest Gump, he had such a thick accent that Tom Hanks actually adopted his speech in order to make him feel more comfortable on set. And the rest is history about Forrest Gump. So originally Forrest Gump was not talking like he had a thick accent, and they changed that in the movie. I think that's pretty cool to know about. Speaking of not very cool, and I bring this up because I was at the LA airport the other day, LAX. It is the worst airport ever, and the reason that it is the worst airport ever is they keep saying that they're going to fix it, so it's just constant construction that never ends. But I'll give you an example. So when you go to drop off, you're on the top level. When you pick up, you're on the bottom level. But none of the numbers, like say, for example, the ticket was like, oh, you're going to be picked up at 5A. Well, that's not true. When I go to pick up, it's like Y15. It is nothing. The numbers don't correspond with where you're going to pick people up. So you really do need like a phone if you're picking up the person, because all the listings, I got out of the car, I parked. Parking for 15 minutes was $9. And then to actually park, you're driving around in circles, and I had to, where I parked, because there was so much construction, none of the parking structures are connected to each other, so you can't drive across. So you're on the other side of the airport, and it's not easy flowing traffic. It's dead stop traffic, and 4 lanes where you can't get over to the side. So, I mean, it takes you a couple times to go around. It's like you're on a Ferris wheel for hours trying to figure out. And the other thing, too, I've said this before, the signs they're like in a blue print, so it's and there's no light underneath it, so you can't even read it. And there are these giant signs for your terminal and where the plane, like American Airlines, but it's not lit up, so you can't see it. So you're just going in there blind. You're driving around in traffic. It's just so, like, if you've got anxiety, stay away from that place. A golfer complained about United Airlines. She said that they destroyed her golf clubs. And they got lost in Newark, and she was going to the U.S. Women's Open, and they, screwed up damaged her driver, basically. And I'm totally on her side, but at the same time, like, we just expect that they're going to ruin all of your luggage. It's just become basically like a government-run airline. All the airlines you just expect them to be absolutely horrible and not care about anything. Because it's all just a dumpster fire, and I think that a lot of it just starts with LAX. Because there's other airports that are run great. You get to other airports, and you're just like, I'm shocked that LAX is able to get away with what they get away with. It reminds me of the submarine that imploded when it went down to the Titanic, and they've been interviewing the other people, all talking about how, there were malfunctions before. Like this one guy said he was a passenger, and they got to the bottom, and then the guy in charge was like, oh yeah, we've got to wait 24 hours until the battery's dead. We got to wait 24 hours until we can get it back to and he just tells everybody, oh, just go to sleep. It's okay. I'll work with everything. Yeah. I'm at the bottom of the ocean next to the Titanic. Could I really sleep? No, I can't sleep. And if you've been living under a rock and haven't heard about this because it was all over the news, it was basically 5 people could be in there. They could sit down. There's no windows. It's just a screen. There's a toilet, but you're sitting, on your butt the entire time. Nothing else. You're just in a tube. And it had all these problems before. All these people didn't want to go, and then this time people were paying $250,000 to go venture down to the Titanic. Don't want to do that. I don't want to go in a submarine. I don't want to go to LAX. I don't want to venture out anywhere. I would, however, like to go to the White House, because apparently they found cocaine at the White House, and it tested positive for cocaine. And this is such government also, because rather than like somebody just being like, oh, I found some cocaine in an empty room, or I found this substance in a room, while cleaning up. I'm not going to say anything, big deal. It was like, oh my gosh, there's substance. Oh my gosh, what's going on? And then, one half of the country is like, oh, well, it's probably, Hunter Biden's. And then the other country is like, we can't figure it out. We've got to launch an investigation. All these millions of tax dollars are spent, investigating the substance and going back and finding out who it was. And we all know who it was and who it belonged to, who shows up on the balcony, itching their nose and talking frantically to everybody else a million miles an hour, waving their hands. That's the culprit. But instead, we as a country have to, look the other way and make up stories and spend millions of dollars going, we don't know what's going on. We can't figure it out. Golly jeepers. So I thought that was funny. I thought that was a great story for the 4th of July weekend. Also, speaking of America, I know there's a big push to ban porn. So I noticed that what I thought was, I don't know, I guess it's irony maybe, Virginia, which is, there's got to be 99% of your federal workers, probably state also, that live there because Virginia is right next to, Washington, D.C. And that's where most of your federal workers live. And so that state bans, I think it's just one state that did pass a law that bans porn. And I think the idea was we're going to eradicate that from all of our state, our government, federal computers, iPhones, laptops, stuff like that. And then it was, then it's the regular citizens that can't have access to it. But just in the state of Virginia, I just find that so odd that's not talked about. Here's all of your government employees that can't access it for the state, so now they've got to go move out of state. If you're crazy enough to, that's the main reason. Hey, why did you move out of state? Oh, I couldn't have access to porn, so I had to move out of state. What do you do? Oh, I work for the government. I work for the federal government. If you can, whatever you can do, run from any sort of government job, because those people are like the mafia. They will own everything of you. It's better for you. My advice: be an attorney, work privately, because everything is run by the legal system, and you need to know it because they're going to tell you everything except what you need to know. So if you go to law school, you'll be able to actually learn the law. Or you could go into an eating contest like Joey Chestnut. His nickname is Jaws. And again, he won the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, inhaling 62 hot dogs in 10 minutes. I find the idea, I want to go there so badly to this competition. I find the way that they eat the hot dogs utterly disgusting. I love Nathan's hot dogs. Walmart actually sells them. And for some reason, they're great. I don't like Walmart. I don't like going in there, but the hot dogs, they're always out of them. They're delicious. They're Nathan's hot dogs. I support them all the way. For some reason, they don't, COVID eliminated all hot dogs from gas stations, which I find odd. It's just very, very, very weird. But I do want to go to the eating contest someday. I think that would be great. Also, speaking of the government, and I bring this up because this can happen to anybody. We're always taught, you got to own a home. And I always tell everybody, don't own a home, because if you missed 1 cent on your property taxes, they will try to take your home. And for example, this woman was a 94-year-old widow and in Minnesota. And in 2015, she could not pay $15,000 in her taxes. Granted, if you're, my property taxes are like $8,000 a year. And it's hard. I don't know how a lot of people can pay for it. But after selling the home for $40,000, the county then kept the entire $40,000 from her and then turned around and sued her, arguing that she owed more on the house because the house had, of course, gained value. She ended up winning that court case, though. But I was looking over my homeowners, and it looks to me like, so like 2008 was a big push for banks that were giving out loans to people that couldn't afford them. I really feel like now the insurance companies are the ones that are kind of, clamping down. They're canceling people's homeowners insurance. And this is the thing. If you don't know this, you need to have homeowners insurance because it's covering the insurance of your loan, right? And you can't have your loan if you don't have homeowners insurance. And then if you're not paying your property taxes or you're not paying that homeowners insurance pretty much, then the bank can come and get your home. And so you think about that. You don't really own your home. I know people like to say that you own your home outright, but you still have to pay property taxes on your home. And if you don't pay your property taxes, they seize your home. So you're constantly, that's what I'm trying to say, is you're constantly owned by the man. Dive into our celebrity of the day, and that is going to be who I think is the perfect ideal man, and that is actor Warren Oates. Now, if you do not recall that name, he passed away in 1982, but he was Sergeant Holka in Stripes, which is about the greatest American movie ever. And Warren Oates was born July 5th, 1928. He was born in a tiny town in rural Kentucky. He attended Louisville Male High School in Louisville, up until 1945. He did not graduate, but he got his equivalency. And then he was in the United States Marine Corps, 1946. Pretty awesome. He was a aircraft mechanic. He became interested in theater while attending the University of Louisville in 1950. 1983. He started several plays produced by the school's Little Theater Company. 4 years later, in New York City, he got an opportunity to star in a live-action television series, Studio One. He moved to Los Angeles, where in 1950s he began to establish himself in guest roles in many, many westerns, including Gunsmoke, Big Valley, The Virginian, Have Gun, Will Travel. Pretty cool. Those are some good shows. He, of course, was in some pretty good movies, including Dillinger, The White Dawn, The Brink's Job, or some other ones. The Rise and Fall of Legs Diamond, The Thief Who Came to Dinner, The Hired Hand, Race with the Devil, 92 in the Shade. A year before he passed away, he co-starred with Bill Murray in the 1981 military comedy Stripes in the role of Drill Sergeant Holka. He played the straight man to Murray's comic genius. The film was a huge financial success, earning $85 million at the box office. In 1982, he co-starred opposite Jack Nicholson in The Border. It was kind of an interesting movie. Kind of slow, but I definitely think they could remake that one now. In 81, Oates also co-starred as a preacher turned Confederate officer in The Blue and the Gray. Sadly, though, he became ill with influenza in the weeks before his death. On April 3rd, 1982, at the age of 53, he passed away from a heart attack while taking an afternoon nap. He had actually complained of chest pains and shortness of breath earlier that day. An autopsy determined that he had chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. After his funeral, in accordance with Oates' wishes, his body was cremated and his ashes were scattered at a ranch in Montana. I really loved this guy. I loved his acting. He just had such a great presence and a great voice. And I will sum this up. Richard Linklater introduced him, saying 16 reasons why viewers should love him. The sixth was because there was once a god who walked the earth named Warren Oates. And I think that sums it up. Like, subscribe, tell me who else you want me to see. I appreciate everybody listening to the Mike Knox Comedy Podcast.